Hello everyone and welcome to this important episode of Ignition Time. In this video, we'll explore the high stakes associated with the potentially upcoming Biden boom. We've talked about the infrastructure plan that President Biden has already officially launched. We've already talked about the wrangling that's beginning from the Democrats who want to do much more, and the Republicans who have made it clear that they're going to oppose this bill. But could we see an upcoming Biden boom? I believe at this moment in time, we are at a crossroads in our country, unlike anything we've seen in decades. In fact, from a medical standpoint, there are some individuals who are extremely concerned. Let's actually hear from one of these individuals to begin our video. Welcome to this channel. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. This right here is a little bit of information about me. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. Thank you so much for watching. Let's just jump right in. Let's start with a brief video clip from an epidemiologist, Dr. Michael Esterholm, and he has a stark warning for us. He says, get ready for this surge. We are walking into the mouth of the pandemic monster as if we don't somehow know it's there. And it is here. Pretty incredible comments from the epidemiologist. Let's roll the tape and hear what he had to say. I think this is something we should all be aware of. Whether we choose to do something about it or not, that is your decision. But I do think this is important for us to be aware of. Let's roll the tape.
And right now, get ready for this surge. You know, Allison, I take no comfort at all, but I'm telling you right now, as you just said, we are just beginning this surge, and denying it is not going to help us. We are walking into the mouth of this virus monster as if somehow we don't know it's here, and it is here. Now's the time to do all the things that we must do to slow down transmission, not open up, and we got to get more vaccine out to more people.
Pretty intense, right? Now let's shift gears towards the entire infrastructure plan and how we are likely to pay for this. A huge part of this infrastructure is a reinvention, a retooling of our transportation system. And who better to talk about this than the Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, and he said he will not give up on earning Republican support for President Biden's $2.25 trillion infrastructure package. And he says, because we know that Republicans and Democrats across America believe this is a good idea. He's essentially being a salesperson, if you will, for the White House in selling this plan and trying to gather public support for this plan. This is why you see certain individuals strategically at certain news stations, because politics is about timing, it's about opportunity, it's about tribalism and perception. Let's roll the tape and hear from the Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg.
Let's talk about this package. There's basically no chance Republicans are going to get on board. Will you be able to get this plan through Congress using reconciliation this year?
Well, I'm not going to give up on earning Republican support for this, because we know that Republicans and Democrats across America believe this is a good idea. I know sometimes Washington doesn't mirror the American people, but I've had a lot of conversations on both sides of the aisle with members of Congress who care about this too. And the president has laid out a very clear vision and also invited people to bring forward ideas on what they think is important. Bottom line is, we've got to get this done.
And the battle is already beginning as Pete Buttigieg says he needs to get the Republicans and the Democrats to work together. Here's a headline of an article on your screen from the Washington Post. Democrats, Republicans, and businesses gird for battle over Biden's proposed tax hikes. Folks, there's going to be a lot of haggling. There's going to be a lot of criticisms. You've already heard different Democrats call this a neo-socialist agenda. That was actually a Senator Kennedy from Louisiana. He's actually a pretty colorful character. There he is. What's up, Senator Kennedy? And many different senators have called this a left-wing wish list, a progressive Democratic agenda, and so on and so forth. The battle over the proposed tax hikes from the Biden administration has just begun. And I think one comment from the president sums it all up. I think this was a comment that deserves to be highlighted. Here's a comment from President Biden. Everyone's for doing something on infrastructure. Why haven't we done it? Well, no one wants to pay for it. Folks, this is as clear as it gets, and I think it's worth repeating. Everybody wants to do something on infrastructure. Why haven't we done it? Well, no one wants to pay for it. Folks, the Republicans want infrastructure, the Democrats want infrastructure, but there are people who don't want tax hikes to pay for it. I can assure you there is one world in which we can have brand new infrastructure, brand new roads, bridges, the whole 9 yards without increasing taxes, and that place is a special place called La La Land. Now, one person who's a big supporter of President Biden's economic agenda, wrote an article called The Biden Boom, which you'll see on your screen at the New York Times. This was written by Tom Friedman at the New York Times, and he wrote how President Biden has a chance to supercharge the economy. In a very interesting interview on CNBC, he outlined the right way to go about infrastructure spending and how government can actually enable and empower the private sector to take charge of this situation and to lead the way forward into a new economy, into what he calls the green energy economy. Let's roll the tape and hear from Tom Friedman talk to CNBC about the importance of a tight focus and enabling the private sector, because he feels the American jobs plan from President Biden, the infrastructure plan, the $2.25 trillion plan, has significant potential, has a lot of promise for our country. Let's roll the tape and hear from Tom Friedman.
It's now to talk about the president's plan, the economy, and American competitiveness is New York Times columnist Tom Friedman. Tom's latest piece is The Biden Boom. The president has a chance to supercharge the economy. And Tom, welcome. It's good to see you.
Good to be with you guys.
So I think the headline and what we just read about your latest piece is enough to kind of see where you come down on this. Biden says that this is an investment in the future, and it sounds like you agree with that.
Yeah, I think if it's done right, Becky, it can absolutely be a great and necessary investment in the future. Particularly if we keep it tightly focused in two ways, Beck. The first is let's focus on roads, rural broadband, ports, airports, the things that are actually the enabling tools of the economy. That would be the first thing. The second is on making sure that we use the government in the right way here, which is that the government enable the private sector, especially in the energy area, and where basically the government uses its buying power to buy power to basically bring technologies down the cost volume curve. And then you let the private sector develop these technologies with the right performance standards. It's that combination that works best. We got to get each side doing the right thing. My one concern of the plan, and this was what my column was about yesterday, is that it's got to be a plan to enable capitalism. If you want to have a green economy, there's only one way you can have a truly green economy, and that's if you have scale. And the only thing that gives you scale is the market, the private sector driving these things forward. So if each side plays their right role, I think this has great potential.
Now, another part of this interview that really jumped out at me was Tom Friedman basically admitted that the $2.25 trillion was the opening offer, the opening gambit, if you will, from the president. And he said it's going to be whittled down as both sides start to negotiate. So that really jumped out at me. He also said that the president asked for the moon, but this is going to be whittled down. And he said that this should be about smart capitalism, not democratic socialism. This is an aspirational vision of what should happen in the future. I can assure you there's going to be a lot of drama between the Democrats and the Republicans, but let's hear Tom Friedman's vision for the Biden boom. Let's roll the tape and check this out.
Hey, Tom, I think what you just laid out is something that most people would agree with, particularly the idea that we have got to spend on bridges, on roads, on ports, on airports, and on broadband. We've been talking about that since the show started at 6 a.m. This is a long overdue investment, something that we've been hearing about for years and years, something that has never happened. But I think people would take issue with whether this bill does everything that you just described, whether this bill lays it out the right way, and whether you really need north of $2 trillion to make this investment happen.
Yeah, and I think that's all. I see this, Beck, as the government or Biden's opening bid. I think it will be whittled down and reshaped both by Republicans and I think by conservative Democrats as it's debated more publicly. So he's asked for the moon, but I think there'll be and should be and needs to be a real debate about how we focus this and make sure we get the absolute bang for our buck. Because Becky, we're not going to get another chance to do another $2-3 trillion plan. So we really have to get this right.
You just said we're not going to get another chance to do a $2 to $3 trillion plan. How is this going to be whittled down if we're still talking about spending $2 to $3 trillion? And by the way, this is just the down payment on infrastructure. They've got another one waiting in the wings that's going to do all kinds of things, propose things for childcare and far beyond.
Yeah, for my money, that should be down the road right now because to me, you really want to focus on the truly enabling infrastructure that can launch the private sector, that this has got to be about smart capitalism, not democratic socialism, nothing else. That's my approach. That's what I will be arguing for. I'm not the author of the bill, but that's what my column was trying to advocate. You do that right, Beck. I think this moment has great potential because think about it. Never have more people had access to cheap, high-powered computing through the cloud than they have today. Never have more things been digitized. We digitized like 10 years worth of things in the last year. Never have more people had access to cheap capital, and never have there been more problems to solve. So, the raw material is there for a real explosion of creative destruction if we make sure the government doesn't overwhelm it or doesn't shortchange it. It's got to be done right. And that's what the debate's going to be about. You guys will be out there. I'm going to be out there. The lawmakers are going to be out there. Many people are going to weigh in. And I think we all have to make sure we get this as absolutely right as possible.
That was it, everyone. Let me know what you think about the potentially upcoming Biden boom and the impact that it could have on our economy. Do you agree with Tom Friedman's comments? Do you agree that this could be a massive opportunity for us, a once in a generation opportunity for us? Or are we going down the path of no return? Are we likely to see businesses leaving America? Are we likely to see inflation? Are we likely to see trickle-down economics where high taxes on the rich lead to decreased opportunities for the middle income and a stagnation in wage growth among job losses? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Please click the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. I would really appreciate that. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.